of you have seen Aggro Man? A few of you, okay. Last night, if you weren't there during the Friday celebration in the Hall of Fame, we unveiled a brand new display, Aggro Man. And I have to admit, I didn't know a whole lot about it. I've seen the movie, I just didn't understand it. And, but I'm from Oklahoma, that's just me. But his origins dating back to 43 BC. And now I do know about the Aggro necklace, how a ninja did everything that he could, including kidnapping Betty to get his hands on the ancient, coveted necklace. And that is just a small part of the story of the legacy of our early freestyle inductee, Mr. Eddie Roman. Let's watch a video for Eddie.
Ironically, our next inductee also got his start on a Torker bike, only his was equipped with black tufts and a coaster brake. Unknown to him or anybody else at the time, those tough wheels would play an important role in launching his BMX career. Hailing from San Diego and becoming a part of the daily BMX dirt jumping scene, our early freestyle inductee competed in his first AFA contest in 1984. Within a year, he'd win first place at the AFA's King of the Skate Parks at Del Mar Skate Ranch. Not long after scoring that 16 and under novice win, Skyway Recreation offered him an open spot as their ramp rider on tour. And that is how Skyway teamed up with Eddie Roman. Whether he was riding wobbly quarter pipes, concrete skate parks, or shrouping around the Balboa Beach Strand, Eddie's riding kept evolving. Using inspiration from his skaters, Roman and his SD locals began taking their tricks to the urban terrain, becoming early influencers in the street scene. The ninja drop, rolling backwards tricks, bank to wall rides, and way too many foot plant variations to name here, all became a part of the Roman Empire. Eddie's shredding sessions were not only accompanied by his Skyway street beat, but also with the Sony 8mm video camera. Having the advantage of Hoover High School's video and visual arts class, along with the latest high-tech video toaster software, Roman began Roman to film his friends and teammates in action. Matt Hoffman, Dave Volker, and Vic Murphy, just to name a few, were often his subjects. But growing up in a pre-YouTube world, getting these clips seen by riders all around the country was a whole lot harder to do. Eventually, Eddie had filmed enough material to put together his first full-length tape, titled Aggro Riding and Kung Fu Fighting, starring himself as Slick Rick. The original BMX flick lived up to its name, and the demand for a sequel was strong. Thus, production of Aggro Man began, starring Matt Hoffman. Eddie's BMX videos eventually outshined his ahead-of-his-time riding, and after releasing Ride On in 1992, he'd go on to film multiple videos for various companies, from Too Hip to GT, including Ride Like a Man, Head First, Code 4130, Hammer Time, and Dead Sailor. Eddie's riding, video production, and BMX career can be summed up in 4 words: creative, goofy, innovative, and weird. But he helped set the stage for the future of BMX long before any of us envisioned watching YouTube every day via the phone in your pocket. So please stand up and join us as we celebrate a true pioneer in street riding, as well as an original hawker of VHS BMX tapes for your VCR. Early freestyle inductee, Eddie Roman.
I love that you didn't understand what Aggro Man's about, because I still don't understand what it was about. So my first bike was a Torker with Skyway wheels. So for those 2 companies who are sponsoring this, thank you for being there when I was 13 years old. You guys, and then after that, Skyway sponsored me. And man, you think about it, good rider or great riders get sponsored, and then it's the sponsors that allows them to become even greater, just by the support and stuff. And so thank you so much to Skyway for allowing me to experiment and figure out what could be done on a BMX bike. It's really amazing to me and very profound to be being inducted into a Hall of Fame with mostly BMX racers, because in the beginning, I know the video said that I got a lot of my inspiration from skateboarding. That's not actually true. I mean, you know, obviously some of the tricks are the same, but I never was into skating. I never watched skateboarding. I never even knew what the skateboard tricks were. I rode at Del Mar Skate Park with guys like Tony Murray and John Peterson, Donovan Ritter, Mark McGlenn. And so I would be around guys like Tony Hawk, but I didn't really care about skateboarding. The heroes on my wall in my bedroom were Eddie King and Clint Miller and all you racer guys just bombing Dirt Hill. I love that. And it's funny because you know, the way I got into BMX, I was actually really good at Pac-Man. And so I'd be down at 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven on Home Avenue by the Home Avenue ditch. I'd be down there spending all my money on Pac-Man. And in between games, I would go over and look at the surfer magazines. And then one day I picked up a BMX Action magazine with Clint Miller on the cover. And soon I'm looking at pictures of Eddie Fiola, Mike Dominguez, and I just was way into BMX before I even had a bike. I had a paper bike, you know. That's where the inspiration for the nerd and agger man with the paper route came from. But yeah, and so I was so into BMX, and so spend my paper route money on a used Torker with coaster brakes, skyways, and I saw a Diamondback ad with all the guys wearing Ked shoes, and so I had to go buy some Ked shoes, you know. I don't even know, how long did you guys even wear those Ked shoes for? It was like a one-time ad, and everyone's wearing Vans from then on. But and so the Pac-Man machine, I actually won a Pac-Man championship. I won a belt buckle. So much money on Pac-Man. But so my little gang, my little neighborhood gang that rode around Home Avenue Ditch and Rowan School, the banks there, were Mike O'Day, Darren Johnson, Nasser Parquet, and Steve Reiner. These are the little crew. And what's interesting, when I got into BMX, I really wanted to race. But the track was too far, and my parents wouldn't drive me there. So I ended up just riding around dirt fields and ditches and just kind of made do with what I had. You know, eventually I would get out of my neighborhood and be around Balboa Park, where I ran into guys like Pete Augustine, Jimmy Arrington, Ron Wilton, and these guys just really opened my mind to what's possible on a bike. And then going further into San Diego and meeting guys like Dave Norrie, Tony Murray, Jim Hall, Chris Schaefer, Scott Ewing, Vic Murphy, and all the Dirt Brothers. And then the biggest inspiration of all, I think, back then, as far as guys I would see, was the legend of San Diego, Dave Volker. You guys almost forgot him tonight. I'll never forget you, Dave. Never will. Yeah, Dave would always go just a little bit higher and just get a little bit louder than everyone else. So these were the guys who all showed me what's possible on a bike, and also what's not possible. Saw a lot of good crashes in those days too. Why do we laugh at each other when we crash on bikes, you know? Like, why do we do that? I still do that today. If one of my kids like falls down the stairs, my wife hates it. She's like, why don't you help him? Don't just laugh at him. But you know, freestyle is such a great outlet for creativity, being creative. And it's funny, this video said it, and also in the last few years, the ballot, it's describing me, and the description is, this is a guy who did a lot of weird tricks. And I thought, you know, here's Harry Larry. He invented the Larry. Here's Matt Hoffman. He invented the flare. Here's Eddie Roman. He invented the weird tricks. Like, who's going to vote for him, you know? So thank you, whoever did vote for me. So during the filming of Ride On, I had the most significant change in my life. It's when I became a Christian. And long story short, I realized I was a sinner. I was successful, I was happy, I had everything I wanted. I wasn't like a really bad criminal or anything, but I was just a typical guy living for myself and not caring about the things of God at all. So I was selfish, and that would come out once in a while. I said some really dumb things over the course of my career there, but came to a point where I just realized what I was and asked God to forgive me, and He did. And a lot of us grow up going to church and we hear the story, but at the point when Jesus Christ, when His death and resurrection became real to me, that's when everything changed. That's when I gained a hope, an enduring hope. And it's funny, I look back on the end of Ride On, and there's a scene where it's that song "Keep Your Eyes Open" by Fugazi. It's a lot of power, and it's some of the best freestyle riding of that time is happening there. And there's a funny scene where there's, we bury a BMX bike and then we dig it up, and the whole message there is, and this was during the time when the industry was kind of falling apart and sponsors are getting laid off and all kinds of money's going away. And the message of that little scene was basically, no matter how hard it gets, no matter what happens to your sponsor and all this stuff, that this sport's never going to die. There's just hope. And I look at that and I think, man, I think just the fact that I believe the reason that happened in the midst of all that was that the Bible just gave me a new outlook on life, and it basically said, no matter how bad it gets, there's hope. And so I'm really thankful for that. And so, like the rest of us, BMX taught me so many things that just apply to the rest of my life. So dealing with dirt and video cameras back in the day, it didn't go well. You would get these little glitches going across the frames. And so we would have to tape up where the cartridge went in. It's digital now. Like I wish I was born later so I wouldn't have to deal with the dirt. But in 1996, I was asked to go over to Sudan and Africa in the middle of a civil war and photograph famine in the middle of a war. And so I went, I volunteered, paid my own way, and the lessons, and it was horrific. You see those pictures on commercials where there's like starving people and they're dying, and so I filmed a bunch of that stuff, and the dealing with dirt and video, it served me well in the deserts and dirt huts of Sudan. And it was an amazing time because all those skills that I had learned with BMX stuff, we were able to go over there and film this stuff, come back, raise a ton of money, go back with a team of doctors and airplanes full of food, and literally I got to see villages that were dying come back to life in the midst of all that. And I mean, today there are thousands, probably generations of people over in Sudan who are alive today because of these efforts. And for me, it all started back with BMX, so just having to do these things. So it was just an amazing thing. And it's funny, during this time, I was just doing my work, wasn't really talking a whole lot about BMX, and one of the guys I was working with, he was watching the X Games, just kind of randomly, and he comes to me the next day, he goes, "What did you have to do with BMX?" Because I guess one of the announcers said something like, "Oh, that guy just did an Eddie Roman." And so it was a ninja drop, I believe. And so I tell my friend, the kind of the story of my BMX life. And this guy convinces me to take my BMX bike and go do trick shows in the middle of a war zone during an active war in Sudan. And so it was the bomb. It was awesome. And I was the best rider they'd ever seen, because I was the only rider they'd ever seen. No competition over there. And man, you guys, life goes by so quick. It's just like yesterday I was taking off my sweaty Bell Moto 3 at Del Mar Skate Park, and I blinked my eyes, and here we all are, man. So I would just encourage you guys to make the most of these days. It's just a wonderful thing. BMX has been such a amazing, special part of my life. And all you guys, even though some of you guys I've never met you before, man, you guys are all integral to just so many parts of just making me who I am. So I just thank you all for that. So many of you guys were on my wall and you had no idea. Where's Toby Henderson? I saw him, dude. Toby Henderson, one-hander, one-footer, just all you guys. I could go down the list. It's so cool. About 10 years ago, I was in a skate park, just kind of pretending I could still ride, just rolling around. And there's this group of guys, some of them are my age, some of them are younger, and they're kind of looking at me. I don't know, I think they're figuring out who I am. And after all, this little kid comes up to me and he says, "Hey, did you used to be Eddie Roman?" And I just want to thank the Hall of Fame for solidifying the fact that I used to be Eddie Roman. Thank you guys so much.